Okay, apparently, I think we're okay. All right, so here we are. And today we are talking about what iridology can and can't do, and what an iridologist can and can't say. This is super important, like super important. Did I say that twice? I meant it twice. Because really, there are so many iridologists out there who are breaching the line. They are actually creating problems for us, and we need to nip this. It's way past the bud stage, but we've got to get this stopped because it is so not working. So just before we get into what we're going to present today, just want to again reinforce that that what we're talking about is so important, because there are lots of misconceptions with iridology, and those misconceptions are being perpetrated by people who've been trained usually in very archaic and disproven methods, and that gives all of us a bad name. We need to stay up to date. We need to be practicing constitutional iridology because it is the up-to-date one, and I'm not just saying that because that's what I do. I've done the other kind of iridology as well years ago, realized it wasn't working, and when I went to constitutional, I understood why what I had done previously wasn't working. Constitutional still has lots of research going on, and so this is a good thing. Now here we are looking at a calendar, and this is just to give you the heads up that the next go-round of Confident Nutritionist Dynamic Iridology is starting on October 1st. And we're going, as we chat today, if you'd like a little more information about the course, I want you to go to iridology.education, or I invite you to do that. And there's going to be a red pop-up box that's going to be there, and it's going to offer you a free iridology map. When you put your email address in there and ask for that map, you're going to be added to my database, and that will allow me to give you more details of when Confident Nutritionist Dynamic Iridology is starting again. So I really encourage you to hop on over to iridology.education so that you can receive the emails to be notified when the next go-round of the class is starting and what all the details are. And again, it is starting October 1st. So that's the first detail you need. And I hope I'm not going to make people seasick with this, but I'm going to be flipping back and forth with my camera, back and forth from the screen to the phone. So, we've got lots of people joining us on Instagram Live. Thank you for being there, and thanks for the waves. I really appreciate that. And just checking to see who's with us on Facebook as well. All right, so as we are learning how to do iridology, particularly constitutional iridology, one of the key things for us to learn is how to connect the dots, how to find 2 or 3 or 4 different markers that all point in the same direction, that support each other, that corroborate the story, if you will. Constitutional iridology is about understanding the patterns in the eye. It's not about diagnosing, and it's not about prescribing. Now, depending on where you live, how you use iridology and what you do with it might change, right? So the laws where you live may dictate that you can also talk about herbs if you've got the right training, that you can talk about nutrition if you've got the right training, that you can talk about supplements or essential oils or lifestyle if you've got the right training. And that's really an important thing to realize. As we then, there we go. As we look at this today, what we are looking at is the idea that that what we see in an eye is not always the story we are going to be hearing from the client. And this is so important. As we are looking at an iris like we are now, this beautiful lymphatic iris, we always have to consider why the client has symptoms, because sometimes those symptoms do not match what we think they should based on their eyes, right? And that's because the eyes are a genetic programming. They are inherent. They show us what the inherent predispositions are. So it's just like a beautiful old car. Well, this one's not so beautiful anymore. It's kind of rusted out and the paint's kind of all damaged on it. A Rolls Royce can be driven into the ground if it is not properly cared for. So a car of lesser quality can also last a whole lot of years if it's properly maintained. So the same is true of people. A client that has been blessed with a genetically resilient body, which would be suggested by the iris that we just looked at a moment ago, suggests that this person should be well for a long, long time, that they should enjoy good health. But if they don't take good care of their body, even that really genetically strong, inherently strong body can give out on them. Just as the same as a little car that doesn't have a lot of integrity showing in its eyes, well, those people can learn what the rules are at a young age. They can actually enjoy really good health for the very long term. So as we look at an iris like this, which again suggests that this body may have inherently more issues, more challenges, more things that we need to be paying attention to, more work that we want to do to prevent problems. When we do that with this person, they can experience really good health. They may already be doing those things by the time they come to see us. And so they may be experiencing good health. We look at their eye and the first reaction is, well, how could that be? That could be because they've already learned the rules. They've learned the rules for their body, for their health. And that is a super important thing for us to recognize as we are doing iridology. When clients come to us with symptoms that don't match their eyes, it's because they've earned those symptoms. While iridology is a blueprint, looking at the eyes and the patterns and the structures we see in those irides gives us a blueprint of the body's inherent patterns. It does not account for the abuse that is dished out to the body. So, someone is doing something obviously horrible for their body, like smoking or skimping on sleep, or they've got a really sedentary lifestyle, or they've got a really lousy eating program. Those things will certainly impact how their body is showing. So they may show, their eyes may look like they are supposed to be strong and resilient, but what they're doing is abusing their system, and it gives them lots of symptoms. Iridology informs us. It informs us, and it teaches us the best ways for a person to take care of their body. It teaches us about the foods they should eat, about their dietary or their lifestyle patterns. It teaches us about supplements that may be helpful for them. So great to have you joining us on Instagram Live. Thank you. And on Facebook. Love that. Iridology helps us to understand those inherent tendencies and patterns. In order for us to truly help people, we need to have other modalities. We do. I've had people come to me wanting some mentoring, which I'm happy to do. I'll give just about anybody a little bit of time to mentor them. And these people come and they say, "I just graduated as an iridologist. How do I build a business?" And my first question to them is, do you have nutrition training? Nope. Do you have herb training? Nope. Do you have supplement training? Nope. Do you have essential oils training? Nope. Well, then you can't have a business. And they don't get it until I say it's like taking your car to the auto repair shop, and the mechanic's there, he's looking at it, he's saying, "Yep, I know exactly what the problem is. It's the fuel pump, but I don't know what to do about it." So you walk away a little bit wiser. You know it's a fuel pump issue. But unless you're a mechanic, you don't know what to do about it either. So in order for us to be hugely successful as iridologists, we really need the iridology training, and we also need training in at least one supportive modality, so that when we see things in a person's eyes, we can then make recommendations and suggestions that would help them. And that again depends a little bit on the laws where you live. And can you actually do anything with that? And Mary Reed Gates on Facebook is saying that was a good analogy. Thank you. Thank you. Let's go back to some screens now, or some slides rather. So we're going to do this, then we're going to come back here. Yeah, this is a trick. I almost need an audiovisual manager today. There we go. So iridologists cannot say that a client has diabetes or heart disease or psoriasis. We cannot diagnose. Just saying. We may see indicators in an eye that suggest an increased risk of these kinds of issues, but we cannot pronounce a diagnosis, not from iridology. So we want to be very aware of that. And this is something that just is really wrong. We see so much of this in these free iris analysis that tell me what's wrong kind of analyses that we see on different social media, where people are posting pictures of their eyes and the iridologist is coming down and saying, you've got this, 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 you need to do this, 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 this. That's not how a good iridologist works. And I'm probably going to have eggs thrown at me for that, but it is the truth. It is the truth. What constitutional iridology does is it teaches us what questions to ask, and that is so, so important. So we would ask, is there a personal or family history of whatever we're seeing indicators of? So if we see things that suggest blood sugar disorders, is there a personal or family history of blood sugar disorders? We're not saying diabetes. That's a diagnosis. That's the naming of a disease. We leave it at blood sugar disorders, and our clients will tell us, oh yeah, my mom has type 2 diabetes, my grandpa had this, that, and the other. And so we end up with all of these diagnoses that they've had coming back to us, but we didn't say them. That's really important. As we see the various markers, we can actually then begin teaching, if we've got the background, about nutrition, about herbs, about lifestyle. You know, many years ago, I worked with a client who was an extremely brittle diabetic. And this is when I was very new at iridology. I don't even think I had a camera then. And I don't remember if I even did eye pictures of him. This is like 38 years ago, a long time ago. But I remember him saying that he was drinking a lot of juice. And I'm thinking, you're an insulin-dependent, very brittle diabetic. Your blood sugars are out of control and you're drinking juice? And I asked him, why are you doing that? He said, because the diabetic nurse said I could. And I'm going, do you understand how that's actually working in your body? And he said, no. And so I explained it to him. He went, oh, so drinking juice is not good. I said, not really. Not if you want to keep your blood sugars under control. So there's not a lot of information out there. They're not being taught, regardless of what the health condition is. They're usually not being taught the dietary side of things. And as herbalists or as iridologists, if we've got that background, we can actually provide that information for them. And we need to ask them if they've had dietary counseling, because that's important to do. Now, do you hear what I'm doing here? That I'm asking the client. I'm not telling the client anything. I'm asking the client. So we can also share studies that have been done, and if you type anything into Google and then put scholarly behind it, it will come up with controlled studies. So I love studying polycystic ovarian syndrome and MTHFR. Those are two of my real passions. And so just about every search that I've got includes PCOS, something else, and then scholarly. And you'd be surprised at how many studies have been done on so many of these health issues. Controlled studies, some of them are well done, some of them are not. But you can share studies with your clients. It is really a disservice, a huge disservice that so many iridologists do when they give these huge long lists of I see this, I see that, I see the other in your eye, and it means X, Y, Z, A, B, C, Q, R, S. And then here's this massive list of things that you need to know about this, and this massive list of things that you need to do because of this. Huge disservice, and it's potentially dangerous for the client and for the iridologist. It could be construed as practicing medicine without a license if you're not careful. And so you don't want to do that because that is illegal in just about every jurisdiction on the face of the planet. And the other thing is you provide too much information to your clients all at once. They don't know how to interpret it. They don't know where to start with the recommendations. So they walk away discouraged because they don't know how to do this, right? It's too much. So they're never going to come back. They're never going to do anything you've suggested because it's way too much. And you know, I was guilty of this when I first started in my practice. And I was totally disappointed when the clients didn't come back. But now I understand what I had done to them. It was not a good thing. So as we look at things like this set of pictures that is on the screen right now, if you're doing pictures of your client's eyes and you're using a high resolution camera, what you will see is that over time, you will see changes. And this is one of the things that we will see. We will see an accumulation of pigment, for instance, like we do here. Oh, and it says that my video on Instagram was paused and is now reconnected. I hope I didn't lose anybody. Thank you for being with me on Instagram. And so what this shows us is that we're never going to say to a client that what we see is healing, that their eyes show us healing, because the eyes don't show us healing. The eyes are genetically set. They are inherent. They show us predispositions. What we often will see is the accumulation of things like pigments. So you can see that, 20 odd years ago, there was no pigment down here. Now there is. Same eye when we look for specific markings. The pupil is a different size. That has to do with lighting and technology. And so the pupil is smaller, which changes the size and shape of certain markings. But you see, we've got this coming straight up. We've got it up. We've got this one off at about 10 o'clock. It's off at about 10 o'clock. We've got this little bit of stuff down here at about 4:45. We've still got it right here. This is the same eye. What we are seeing is that we've got this accumulation of pigment. So we can't diagnose from that, but it teaches us to understand that this client has things going on, things that are building in the body, and we can work with that, and we can maybe even work preventively with that. So but you notice as we do this, I'm not going to say you have a liver problem. I'm going to ask, do you have symptoms like X, Y, Z? And I'm going to rattle off some of the liver symptoms. And if they say yes, that's going to help me to understand that, yeah, this pigment is saying the liver has been out of balance for some time and genetically programmed to be so, inherently programmed to be so. And that informs then the recommendations that I'm going to make for this client. Iridologists cannot diagnose or prescribe. Simply not allowed. And I'm hoping that what you're picking up from today is the takeaway that when clients use the old and disproven methods where they are when iridologists, not clients, when iridologists use those old and disproven methods of telling their client what they see and what it means, and as they continue to diagnose and to prescribe, they are doing everybody a disservice, because from iridology, we cannot diagnose, we cannot prescribe. We are not allopathic physicians, and we should not pretend to be, unless, of course, you want to get charged with practicing medicine without a license. The safest way to practice iridology and to be of the best service to your clients is by learning and using constitutional iridology as a guide to assess your client's irides and as a guide to the questions you should be asking to get the information that you want from your clients, and as a guide to help you make those health promoting suggestions. So are you curious about constitutional iridology? Do you want to learn more? Then I'm going to urge you to hop on over to iridology.education. Now, I've got a course coming up. It starts on October 1st. Registration is not open, so I'm not doing a sales pitch here. This is not that at all. But what I am doing is I'm encouraging you to hop on over to iridology.education. And when that little red pop-up box pops up and it says, yeah, I'd like to send you a constitutional iridology map, would you like one? Then give me your information there. And as you do that, what that will do is it will put you on my database list so that I can send you a weekly email to let you know about these little workshops when they're happening, about bigger workshops when they happen, and about registration for the course when it opens. Just a tiny bit of information about the course. It is an iridology certification preparation course. It prepares you for certification with IPA. It's 22-hour classes that are taught by live webinars, so you actually have me as your live instructor, and everything is also recorded. So if you have to miss a class, no big deal. You can hop on and study the recording. It starts October 1st, goes from 5 till 7 p.m. And again, you can at least get on the email list by going to iridology.education. So I just want to thank you so much for being with me today. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I look forward to seeing you again real soon. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you later. Bye for now.